Hey, I've got Jimmy Barnes on the line, which is quite a feat because you're a very busy man, Jimmy. Where are you?
I'm actually at home down in the country at the moment because I've been doing, doing interviews and finishing off a cookbook and finishing off the
Yeah,
kids book I've got coming out, Rosie the Rhinoceros. So it's been pretty busy.
yeah. What is this sort of multi-skilling that has gone on recently? I mean, you and Jane are like vlog stars with doing these at-home sort of COVID shows, and as you say, you've got a children's book and a cookbook coming out. I,
Yeah, well, I just got a lot more spare. I got a lot more free time these days. Rusty, to tell you the truth, in the old days, for a start, COVID sort of shut down a lot of gigs. So for the last 12 months, we haven't had as many shows. But also just the fact that, to be honest, in the old days, I was a bit wilder. I used to spend a lot more time recovering than I would creating. So I've had a lot of time to sit around and think and I get a lot of. I'm a hyperactive person at the best of times, so I get a lot of ideas and they started to come to fruition. I've been writing. I think since I started writing, Working Class Boy 5 years ago, whatever it was, I've just been flat out. I've been really enjoyed the writing process, so I've sort of taken to that every chance I get.
yeah, yeah, and I've sort of noticed since sort of Working Class Man and Working Class Boy and Killing Time that the lyrics in your songs have sort of changed a little bit. They're much more. They seem to be much more personal and sort of, if you like, bringing those stories to life through song as well. Is that?
Well, I think the fact that I wrote those books, it was sort of like turning a key, opening a door. I mean, there was a lot of myself, a lot of my own self that I kept hidden from myself, let alone the world. Until I was sort of forced to write Working Class Boy. It was one of those things where if I hadn't have written it down and got it out, it would have killed me. And so life and situation, brought me to the point where part of the way I was going to, become, be able to survive and be able to become a better human being was to go through all this stuff. And there's a lot of stuff from my childhood that was dark, and it was, my mind had blocked it out. So going through the process of writing that allowed me to suddenly start to look at myself a lot more honestly and being able to feel, And so, I think my songwriting in turn changed because, I wasn't afraid to write about emotions that scared me before.
Right.
The thought of being alone, or the thought of being vulnerable, or the thought, I'd be writing songs about beating my chest and being tough and all that sort of stuff. Whereas, being able to write that, that you were worried and that you were vulnerable and that you were, you weren't sort of, all right, was a huge change for me. And I just think it made for a lot more honest and a lot more songs that connected with more people.
Yeah, and Jane's been by your side for a long time, all the way through that too. How important?
Yeah, well,
therefore,
we get 40 years now. We had our 40th anniversary the other day. So, and that's very, very important to me. I mean, Jane and I went through thick and thin together, and Jane would be the one who would say, really, you should get some help. And why don't you see a therapist? And I used to think therapists were, if you see a therapist, you were crazy. But that once I went and actually seen one, I realized that it was a really brave thing to do. It was because it made me confront all my demons. And so so Jane was not only encouraging me to do that, but also supporting me as I went through it. And Jane's always Jane and I have always had a great time together. Like when this lockdown came around, the first lockdown like 12, 14 months ago, I remember Jane just going, "Oh, let's not waste the time. Let's do something constructive," So I thought I'm going to write a book and I'll do stuff like that. And Jane said, "I'm going to learn guitar." Which is, I thought, oh, great, that's a big thing to do by yourself. But she was really diligent. She sat down for 3-4 hours a day with doing tutorials on the computer and teaching herself songs. And before I know it, I look up from my computer, and Jane has gone from being, strum 2 or 3 chords together to playing quite complex songs. And so we started doing songs every night, which was it was a real joy. And we laughed and fought and connected and had, and we really enjoyed doing it together. We learned a lot about music and about each other doing it. And we thought we'd throw these songs out on the internet to sort of reach out to people who felt isolated.
Yeah.
and it became our lifeline to the world as well. So, but before we knew it, we had 2 billion connections or something. It was outrageous.
And now Jane is in your band as well. Is that right? Is she still in the band?
Well, Jane's been in the band for a while. She's been singing for a while, but now she's playing bagpipes and playing acoustic guitar and stuff as well, which is really, really great. I don't know why I ever thought that would be difficult, because Jane can do it and she puts her mind to it. But she's been a songwriter for a long time. She's a very artistic, creative person, and now we found a way to do that together in the confines of the band, which is really great. I mean, it's what a blessing to be able to work with a person you love.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've always had a great band. But who's currently on the road with you, Jimmy?
When I go coming up your way, when I'm coming up, I've got the 2 brothers, the Dolly brothers, playing keyboard. So these are 2 young fellows who I've known since they were sort of 18, and the 2 boys from Adelaide who play piano and organ, and these guys. I can only imagine that they've sort of inherited something from some sort of it's some sort of genius thing. The 2 of them are just incredible piano players and organists, and they've been playing in my band for many years now. I've got Jackie, my son, playing drums, who's always phenomenal. Michael Haggerty's been playing bass with me for 40 years nearly now. Michael plays with me and he plays with Richard Clapton. Michael's in the band. I have Danny Spencer. Danny Spencer joined me 23 years ago or something. And when he was a young guitar tech, and I overheard him, he was tuning in the guitars one day, and I overheard him playing a few riffs, and I thought he's pretty good. So I got him to play a few songs, and within 6 months of starting work with me, he was in the band. And so Danny's been here 23 years. And then my son-in-law, Ben Rogers, is playing in the band too. And I've got Jane, EJ, my daughter, the various daughters come and go in the band depending on what projects they're doing at the time.
Cool.
Mahalia comes sometimes. Ellie Mae comes sometimes. Just depends on what they're up to personally.
Cool. And this is the band that you'll be bringing up to Bluesfest in October.
Bluesfest. We've been doing Red Hot Summer Tours around, and my band has actually absolutely been blistering. So I'm really looking forward to coming in. I'm so glad that Bluesfest is getting to happen. After
yes.
being cancelled for 2 years in a row, it's a big chunk of sort of Australian culture disappearing there. So I'm really glad that they've got to get it on. I think it's great that there's been a few extra bands added to the bill. I'm sorry for people who've missed out on the ones that we had booked, but that's just life. The way COVID was, nobody could be sure. So we had to play it all safe, and none of us could do it. So, but it's going to happen in October, and we're ready to rock. We're ready to tear the place apart.
Oh, that's awesome! And presumably, your set's going to have some of the songs from the new album, Flesh and Blood, which is
I'll be playing a couple of new. I'll be playing a couple of new songs from the new album, and I play a bunch of the old favorites. I've got a really cracking band, so some of these songs I've had like new life breathed into them, and they're ripping. So I'm just really looking forward to getting on that stage up there. I love playing there.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, with regards to when you were saying, you've got a great band and great songs, your songbook now is so thick and so deep and crosses many genres. How do you sit down and go, oh, well, that's going to be in the set and that's not going to be in the set? How do you figure a set list out these days?
It gets more complicated with every album, but it's a really great position to be in. But, basically what I do is I start and I look at the set and I look at the song list and I take out the song. If I look at it from a punter's point of view, from a music fan. If I was going to see a singer or a band or whoever, I would want to hear the songs that I love them doing. So there's a bunch of songs in there that are sort of perennials that you have to do, whether it's Working Class Man, Flame Trees, K-Sand, Lay Down Your Guns, I'd Die to Be With You. So there's a handful of those that are just, I call them the must-do songs. If I don't do them, people get the shits. And then, of course, I've got new material, so I'd like to, you don't go out there and you bash people with too many new songs, off the bat without the record being out. So I'll play a couple of songs that I've been sneaking into the set over the last, few months, and people seem to really respond to them, including Flesh and Blood. And then I've got room in the set to look at all those, look at my history with Cold Chisel, look at my history with, the early days on Mushroom, and look at songs like Second Prize, look at songs like, it's just, there's enough room there now for me to sort of go and search the repertoire and pick out songs that I think would be really relevant for the time, songs that really suit the band so the band can really tear into them, and songs that I think will fit with the other songs, including the new songs. So it's a bit of a juggling act, but it's a good position to be in because, you get to make the freshen the setup all the time, and the band gets up there. I don't like my band feeling like they're going through the motions. If you're doing the same set for too long, you end up just sort of, it's like turn me on and I'll do it. But I want this to people be thinking on their feet all the time and reacting, fairly swiftly to it. So that way it keeps the band fresh and a bit more aggressive and stuff.
Yeah, and if I may sort of bring it up, with our all Aussie lineup, there's a heap of people who are coming who you've worked with, duetted with, done things with over the years. Is there the tiniest possibility that there might be a couple of sort of jump up and sing along songs with some of the other people?
In a festival like that where you are playing with all your mates, anything can happen. Obviously, I've done a lot of great stuff over the years with many of those artists that are in there, and if I get half a chance, I'll be dragging them on stage or leaping up in their sets. So that's the nature of the beast. That's one of the beautiful things that happens at these festivals. People are there, and they're all there to see not only just to play, but they're there to see all their friends and see the bands the other bands that they really love. And it's always great. I look forward to see what the Living End are doing. Or I can't wait to hear some New Oil stuff. For instance. So
absolutely,
it's going to be very exciting. So I'm really, really excited about watching a lot of bands.
Yeah, and over the years, you've pretty much worked with everyone in the great and the good of not just the Australian music industry, but pretty much the international music industry as well. In these years now, is there someone you sit down with and you go, wow, I really want to work with that person? Is there someone in your sort of bucket list yet?
There's actually a lot, and it varies from I'm actually recording a song today with Sam Moore from Sam and Dave, who I was a Sam and there was a period of about 2 years where all I listened to was Sam and Dave because of Sam Moore's voice. I love Sam Moore, and I'm actually finishing this interview today and going to record a song with him. This week I'm recording a song with Ed Sheeran, who's an incredible artist. Who's one of those guys I've met over the years who just loves music and creates these incredible palettes, really, really great range of songs. So there's a lot of great musicians, young and old, out there who you always want to work with, always want to see, and always want to learn from.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now we've established that you don't sit still. You go at everything at 200 k's an hour. But on those sort of days, that one day of the year that you get off, what are the top 5 things that you might like to do on your day off?
Well, because we're a big family, and obviously you heard about the cookbooks. So quite, one of the things that makes us feel at home is to cook together as a family. I'm a pretty good cook these days, and Jane's an excellent cook, and so we like to we got lots of grandkids and stuff, so we like to cook and bring the family together and just get that reestablish that connection, because sometimes when you're all doing your thing, as much as we work together a lot, there's also a lot of times where we're all running in different directions. So it's always great on those days off to pull the family together, pull the ones you love around you, and the best way to connect with people is to sit down around a meal. So I find myself in the kitchen cooking, and it's quite relaxing for me. I like to I've got obviously to do what I do and keep running around like I do. I've got to keep fit, so I always like to I like to get up, go to the gym, come out and give my missus a hand in the kitchen, and we'll see what we can create.
Yeah, cool. Well, on that happy note, I know you've got a lot to do today. You're not sitting down, so I'm going to say goodbye and thank you. Travel safe with the band. You've got a few shows coming up. Travel safe, and we'll see you in October.
Yep.